$1 million panel, here we go. So what we tried to do is pick a variety of different types of agents. The first agent group is a team. In the last month, they closed $230,000, which is not a bad month. They're very unconventional agents, and I think you'll enjoy them. Team HMA, come on down. It's Chris Hansen, Craig McCoy, and Dave Anderson. Thanks, buddy. All right, good to see you, man. I gotta keep this one. Yep. Okay, next up. From Coldwell Banker Millennium, I checked her numbers. By the way, her average sales price, her low stuff's like $800,000, but she's done a significant amount of business this year and is cranking. Maureen Haney, Coldwell Banker Millennium. Next up, Lori had to go, so she's not here, unfortunately. Oh, you know what? Hey, Trevor, can I get one more chair? Sorry, dude. Next up, oh, look at that. You did lose your head. Alex Horowitz out of Coldwell Banker Diamond. Come on down. All right. And last but not least, as soon as Trevor pulls us up a chair here, last but not least, out of Huntington Beach, doing almost $1 million in GCI, is Scott Campbell. Come on down. Thank you, Trevor. Thanks, buddy. All right. So here's your $1 million panel. We've got all types of business. It's a cool crew. We lost one, that's the way it goes, but I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to start with Scott. We're going to work our way down, and kind of a lot of the similar questions that we asked the $200,000 panel, but now asking $1 million producers. Let's see if they're the same thing. What's your secret sauce? How long have you been in the business? What'd you do? And what is your secret sauce?
Okay, I think for me it all begins with just raving fan service, and then you just add in systems and lead generation. And I've been licensed now since 1986, a broker since 1990. It's amazing how you almost have to reinvent your lead generation systems in this business. You'll go for a while in an ordinary market, and then traditional market, and then we go into the short sale stuff, the REO, just so many different things. And now with a lot of lead generation coming in the form of electronic, here we are going again. We're looking to reinvent, where our business comes from. I don't do the total number of transactions as a lot of the people here on this panel. Last year I closed 35, but an average sale price of $1.6 million approximately.
Poor Scott.
25 of those were listing transactions, 10 of them were buyers. Well, that's what's in the MLS. There's a few others that were just quiet sales. But out of those buyers, 4 of them were double-ended. So, you're really talking about, closer to 30, 35 transactions total. And that helps me do what I do, which you asked about the mindset and also how do I manage it all. Well, it's easier to manage it all when you've got fewer transactions. And when you've got mostly listing business, you do get your weekends.
Awesome. Okay, so before we go any further, so you had 25 listings. Do you know where those came from?
Yes, about 60% of my business, both on the buy side and the list side, is from past clients and referral. 40% would be in the form of new business lead generation, whether it be print farming, electronic means, social media, those things.
All over the place. Okay, and he did tell, well, I can't mention the surfing thing that you told my sons yesterday, right? There's too many people here about where they can park. I won't mention it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay, so his office is right across the street on PCH, across from the Huntington Beach Pier, like right there. And he told my sons, if you surf or want to come down there, he's got a parking spot for you if you're Coldwell Banker. I don't know, I thought that was kind of cool.
Not on the 4th of July.
Look at all the look at, here you go. Sorry. So basically, yeah, all the Campbell people are like, no, I don't want them here. All right, so anyways, thank you very much. Next up, we have Alex Horowitz. Alex consistently, every single year, does a minimum of $1 million. And I'm going to, if he doesn't mention it, I'm going to talk about a little bit about his listing theories. But first, I'm going to ask you, what's your secret sauce, Alex? And how does your business
Hi,
work?
good afternoon, Alex. I want to say, listen, I know my head was cut off when I first came in, but I want to go through some real quick things that I want you guys to write down. When you're putting out listing marketing pieces, to say, hey, I just sold this house for $31,000 over full price. I just sold this house in 5 days. We've got 10 other people that want to buy homes, and you're sending, whether it's either electronic or whether it's postcards that you're sending out or magazine ads. Put some call to action items in there, aside from, hey, what's my house worth? How about call Alex if you're interested in a reverse mortgage? Call Alex if you're interested in getting solar on your house. And it's just another way to have conversations with people and bring them into your database. You'll find that the majority of seniors do not qualify for a reverse mortgage and actually have to sell their home. You'll actually find that most people, sorry solar guys in the back, probably shouldn't be putting solar on because the next question is, how long are you going to have the house? Well, we're going to retire in 2 years from SCE or something like that. Well, you probably shouldn't be putting solar on the house. We probably should get ready to sell it in 2 years. So just some ideas. Part of what I do is become part of the fabric of the community, which allows me to walk into a listing appointment and be a local celebrity. And that's what you can do in your community through the Boys and Girls Club, through the child abuse fundraisers. But being on the Boys and Girls Club allows me the database and access to all the people. And just sitting there bidding over, a baseball for $500 at a live auction and pissing off a guy, I actually wound up buying all the Angels baseball stuff so that he couldn't have it. And I gave it to my son, and he was a little pissed off, but he did list his $2.1 million house with me on Lavender. So, you're using these opportunities to visit with people. I also had studied David Knox. I believe in him. It's an inexpensive way for you to practice on a listing appointment. He's real corny, but I still love him. Other things that I do is, I know it's a little odd, but I own a fire truck. So I have a 1969 Crown Pumper, and yes, a guy from Costa Mesa called me who happened to be a Newport Beach fireman, and of course I drove up in the fire truck for the listing appointment, and absolutely I got it. And I had it in the parade and
So
all
buy
kinds of
one
things.
just in case you want to get a fireman listing, right?
Absolutely. Another thing, we have in our marketplace a fellow that owns a trolley in downtown Orange. The trolley isn't very expensive. I mean, you can lease it for a couple $1,000 a month. You get yourself a driver, you cruise around, you have wine parties throughout the town, especially if you're in Temecula or any of the cities around that have a downtown area. It's just doing more than just putting marketing pieces and saying I'm a realtor, and you become a local celebrity quickly by helping and giving back to the schools and back to the community. And that would be, having a meeting with the high school and saying, I'm going to put $10,000 in this high school, and you have a meeting with everyone in the school with regards to sports and other things like that, and you look at what the school needs. It needs, baseball batting cages. It needs, new nets, or it needs this or that, the other thing. And you're saying, hey, I'm going to put $10,000 in it right now, but put banners up through the whole school. Why wouldn't you do something like that? Why wouldn't you buy back into your community? It's an absolute write-off. Anyway, getting back to listing presentation and what is my secret sauce, the call to action is huge once you become well-known in the community. I have door knocked for many, many years. I've been doing this for 30 years. And my Coldwell Banker Diamond team believes I've sold up to $1 billion in residential real estate over my 30-year career. I think it's a little less than that, but it's still a lot. And if you're working this business 60, 70 hours a week, that's regular time. Other jobs are 40 hours a week. But our regular hours are 60, 70 hours a week. They have to be. Your open houses have to be from 10 to 5. And I try to tell the people that work around me, work smart. You don't have to hold those open houses yourself. You can just focus on getting the listings if that's what you want to do. If you want to work with buyers, work with buyers. And let's talk about sure money antitrust laws with regard to commission and price fixing. We're not doing that here. If you guys want to work for 4%, work for 4%. If you want to work for 6 or 7%, work for 6 or 7%. If you want to pitch somebody on why you're worth more, we're gonna tell you why you're worth more. So we're not doing any price fixing, just FYI, a little disclosure.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, so that was Alex. He talks as fast as I do. I just noticed that. All right, well, thank you, Alex. Next up, we have Maureen Haney from Coldwell Banker Millennium. Maureen, can you tell us a little bit about your secret recipe?
Well, my secret recipe, I guess, is hard work. I have been in this business for about 13 years, and I'm very goal-orientated. I have a business plan, and I follow it. I'm extremely consistent. We mail or email something out to our database every single month, and So we're very consistent on our message. I'm very visible in the community. I work my open houses. Usually I do have a buyer's agent with me, but I have a lot of people. I had a potential client or a client come in that I had not met before, came into my open house on Sunday, and they came in and they say they want me to list their $1 million house in Glendora, and yesterday we looked at a $1.6 million house for them to buy, all because I was at the open house. I didn't sell the house I was at, but it's about being out in the community and having that exposure, and it's about bringing value to your clients. I have clients that call me all the time for a carpet cleaner, a painter. You know, that's fine. I tell them to call me, because if you bring value to your clients when everybody's price cutting, they know where to go to, they've come to you, they trust you, and they're the ones that they're going to come back to you when they need to sell your home. So that's what's worked for me.
Great, great. Okay, so did you guys hear that though? She's been in the business 13 years, closing in $1 million, and she's still setting open houses. So that says they work, right?
About 3 or 4 Sundays a month.
She sits open houses. So hey, come on guys. I mean, you know, that's real. So thank you. And do you have a breakdown of how your business breaks down,
So
percentage-wise?
probably 60 to 70% of my business in the past 12 months is from past clients and referrals. Most of my transactions are multiple. They've done multiple transactions with me, whether them or their children now. The rest of it comes from, you know, just people that have seen my signs, have seen me working, come into my open house, again, being visible, and very rarely is it someone who says, I haven't ever heard of you before. So it's about that consistent message. We do a lot of mailings. We pay for 2 zip codes on Zillow, have mixed feelings on that. But we do it, and we'll reanalyze that every year and kind of see. We have a marketing plan. We have a business plan every year that we follow. And I'm type A. I start my day every day at 5:30 at the gym. I'm on my phone, ready to answer my phone by 7:30. Get ready on the phone. Get into the office. I do have a full-time assistant. We go through everything for the day. We regroup at the end of the day, and we have our plan for the next day.
Cool. So she has a pretty tight schedule. I like it. Excellent, excellent. Okay, Team HMA. I'll start this with a question for you guys. So this is a team, right? And again, I said they did like 230 last month, which is impressive. And I'll ask any one of you guys, whichever one would like to answer it. What's your secret sauce? How does it work for you guys? Very, very different, by the way, guys, the way they do business. Dress for success.
Hey, by the way, can my tattoo artist come up?
Yeah, right.
All right. I'm going to try and tackle this one, because when Chuck first asked us to be up here, I didn't want to do it at all. You know, we're not the professional agents out there that most of this room is. You know, I'm going to hide behind this chair because I am wearing shorts and flip-flops. You know, but that's who we are. You know, my goal is to never wear a suit to work. You know, if I make $2 million, I might change that. But at this point, we're just making $1 million, so I'm cool with that. But anyways, it's the little things for us that work for us. We're not going to be the institutional agents. You know, we've tried the Brian Buffinis, we tried the Mike Ferries, or at least I have. Chris is a little bit newer in the business, but not what we do doesn't work for everybody. Very few actually. But the big thing for us is we have our plan, and it does work for us. You know, Chris and I started doing flips back in 2008, and we made more money in a down market than we do now. So, you know, Chuck asked me these questions. Again, I wasn't a big fan of doing this, but then I figured, you know, what does set us apart from the suit and tie agent or the agents that are, you know, strict business plans that come in and know what they did yesterday and what they're doing tomorrow? We don't. Sadly. And I might change that a little bit because I've seen some pretty cool ideas here, so I might implement some of these things. You know, and like Lance earlier, you know, he says he's not scared because he was prepared. You know, I'm shaking like a leaf because I'm not prepared at all. So I'm trying to read my notes, but my hands are shaking. So I'm using the chair to hold me up just in case I fall over. But again, so like I said, how we operate is we were able to adapt, and we shift gears pretty quickly. And Chuck was in our office talking to us about what we were going to say, and like, I don't even know what we're going to say. And I just threw out there, the thing is that when the market was shifting, we changed gears. You know, in 2004, 5, and 6, I was a listing agent, and the market changed, and I was in the fire academy a year later. And then in 2008, we teamed up and started doing flips. Then we did short sales, and then we buy properties to hold them. We do rehabs. We just do whatever's out there. You know, Chris is interesting in that he's the yes man. We had a house we recently sold, and the buyer wanted a pool. Chris put a pool in. You know, we sell a house, and they want a rehab. Chris does the rehab. We now build spec, and Chris does everything. So it's pretty impressive what we're able to accomplish with all of us on the team. But what I wrote down is just being able to adapt, plan, and work. The biggest thing that all of us have in common that are up on the stage is work. We show up for work, and we're there every day, and we work. What our plan is different than everybody else's plan, but we work the plan. So the biggest thing that I can tell anybody out there, whether you're 1 year in the business or 10 or someone that just wants to get to the next level, is it doesn't matter what plan you're following, just find one that works for you and come in and work the plan. There's a lot of great ideas. There's no way any of us can implement all of the ideas, but find what works for you and work it. And that's the biggest thing that I've written down. I wrote it down multiple times, and I came to the same conclusion. It's just the bottom line is be able to adapt, making a plan, and working your plan. So that's what works for us.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to take the next question back to, and I'm going to go a little out of order. I'm going to come back to you, Scott. If you could go back, how long have you been in the business?
Licensed since '86, but really about 30 years.
Okay, about 30 years. Okay, cool. So let me ask you this. If you could go back, and like we said before, and whisper in your ear 30 years ago what you need to know, you got 2 minutes to tell yourself how to be doing 10 times the business you're doing now, what would you go back and say to yourself?
Well, I think it's a lot easier to keep in contact with people today with social media, which I've actually been very successful in reconnecting with a lot of my friends from Huntington Beach High School, which our business is in Huntington Beach, so that makes it work well. But I wish that I had been better about keeping in contact with all those clients over the years. And then my dad was in the business before me. He was a broker since 1957, but he had a saying which it didn't sink in earlier enough as far as I'm concerned, but he used to say you have to list to last. Now I'm not sure who he stole that from. I'm sure he didn't invent it. But that was a great piece of information. And then the other thing that he gave me, he dusted off this book written by Robert Ringer. Does that ring a bell for anybody, a Robert Ringer? Very few people, but he was a commercial real estate broker. And he wrote this book called Winning Through Intimidation. And I don't really know why he named it that, because that's not what I got out of the book. And he started negotiating. What he talked about is, it's kind of a convoluted thing a little bit. He talked about maintaining a positive attitude through the assumption of a negative result. I know it doesn't make any sense, but what he's saying is don't expect that deal to close until it closes. Just work real hard. If you guys start working on every transaction and think that that deal is going to close, when the inevitable happens where, gosh, that guy that said he wanted to write a full price offer calls you back and says he's not, and that offer you presented that was full price and somebody overbid you, if you think in your mind that that is a done deal and it's going to close until it actually does, you just beat yourself up mentally. And I wish that he would have dusted off that book a little bit earlier for me, because I think that the new people to the business probably suffer through this more than anybody else, and it's probably what knocks most of the new people out of the business, in addition to how hard it is to get rolling financially.
Great, thank you. Alex, if you could go back, how long have you been in the business, buddy? Yeah, how long?
I've been in business 30 years.
Okay, 30 years. So you can go back and visit you. What advice would you give yourself to have your business like 10 times what it is today?
Well, for me, it was a little different. I actually started with a little business called Country Road Realty, and I named it after a condominium complex that was an area that I owned in, and when I was 18. And Country Road Realty, after a while, I just didn't quite understand why I was using that name, but I did an unaffiliated company that I owned from day one. And then it kind of morphed into Alex Horowitz Real Estate or Alex Horowitz Realty. And then later I took on a partner and we did, his name and my name. And then I bought the Coldwell Banker franchise. It was like 2004 or 5. And it was so much easier to list homes. So one thing I would have told myself is to immediately affiliate with a company like Coldwell Banker or better, and so far I haven't found one. So I would stay with a large brand and pay the franchise fees and be happy with the brand that we're selling. We're selling the Tesla, we're selling Nordstrom. You know, you're selling the major Fortune 500 companies, not ABC Realty. So I definitely would have affiliated sooner. I struggled spending millions of marketing dollars to be able to compete with, in the day, Merrill Lynch and Prudential and companies like that, when I simply could just paid my franchise fee and been with a 110-year-old company and $225 billion in sales, and Coldwell Banker sells 60% of homes in California above $1 million, and you just rattle off all the, you know, the statistics. It's awesome. So that was a big thing for me. The other thing is, when you're at a listing appointment, either spend the night at the house or get it signed. Not really, but you know, I mean, the idea is that you want to go, you know, to the neighborhood early, understand what's going on. You want to get in there. You want to build up a rapport, you know, with the buyers, the owners of the house, and sometimes there's a decision maker, literally, that could be a 15-year-old kid. You know, a teenager could screw up a purchase or a sale. You know, especially if there's drama in the family and everything else. So you want to kind of understand what's going on. You want to take it nice and slow. You want to be part of the family, and you want to be able to make a decision almost like you have a vote. And be there as part of the fabric, like we mentioned, fabric in the community. Now you're being part of this family, and I think it matters. And then at that point, through my listing, I'm going to say this: we didn't have tools like Zillow. I mean, how easy is it to walk into a listing presentation and say to the seller, "Zillow thinks your house is worth $1.1 million," and then you wait for a response. And the only thing I'm trying to do, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, is show you what the public sees, just like WebMD. Because anytime I'm feeling bad, I go to WebMD, I plug in 16 things that are ailing me, I find 7 things I'm dying of, I go straight to the doctor and I tell him, "Doc, I'm dying of these things." "Alex, just take a vacation, relax, lose some weight, you'll be good to go." So that's what these consumers are doing. They're going to Zillow and they're saying their house is worth $1.1 million. So I'm just trying to share with you, Mr. Seller, what everyone else is saying about your property, not me. And then you kind of look for their response. And, you know, of course, it could be right on if it's a cookie cutter neighborhood, or it could be a custom home that's worth $2 million. And then you show them how you're going to, I just lost my voice. You actually just find a way to help them to correct Zillow if the square footage is wrong, and now you're part of the solution and you're part of their team. So getting back to things that I would have told myself 30 years ago, we already talked about the brand, you know, engaging with the seller, giving more back to the community. I wound up giving a little bit to the community initially, and I wound up joining a board of directors of a homeowners association, which was like punishment. I was like in jail for 5 years. Oh my gosh. So that was like 18 to 23 I was on that board. So we're giving fines to people for $50 for dogs pooping, and then you're trying to get their listing the next day. That doesn't work. But being part of, you know, the Boys and Girls Club and being part of other, you know, organizations that are raising money, you know, HBIC, Help Brain Injured Children, and things like that, and then going to the not-so-serious golf tournaments and getting everyone smashed and outbidding people and networking, you know, those are things I would have done more of early on.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Maureen, same question.
So going back, overall, I guess I would have more confidence in myself that I could do this. I actually came from the high-tech industry, and I left a very good job, quit cold turkey, and told myself I was going to give this 1 year. And my first year, I did 13 million. So I still didn't have a whole lot of confidence in myself. I was always kind of thinking that, okay, what if no one ever buys anything from me again? So that hasn't happened. But I would have built my staff a little bit sooner. You know, I do have a full-time assistant and 2 buyer's agents, but I would have done that sooner. And if I went back, I would probably very early get coaching. I have never had coaching, but I think early on it would have helped me. I think it would have helped me just have more confidence in myself, and I think that overall would have helped.
I totally agree. Thank you, Maureen. Okay. HMA down there, same question.
Okay. I got to stand like Craig, 'cause I'm the only guy here more nervous than him. If I could go back and give myself some advice, yeah, long ways, all the way back to '09. If I could go back, I would say, get ready and grow thick skin, because it's not easy, but it is rewarding. And one thing you really need to prepare for is the only thing that's consistent in life, and that's change. And this market's very fluid, so your business plan of today most likely won't be the same business plan to equate to your success later on. So that is probably the biggest advice I would give myself, is just prepare for the change. What I learned in real estate school probably doesn't apply today. Again, I started in '09. I kind of like Coldwell. What they started during the 1906 or something like that, San Francisco earthquake through the rubble. I started through the rubble of the decline and fall of the real estate market, and I consider that a great time to learn everything. So again, preparing for change, staying fluid, that's the best advice I could give myself.
Awesome. Can you pass that mic down? Good. Yep.
Chris is passing.
Is he really?
He's just going to sit here and look pretty. He's our poster child. The biggest thing for me to tell myself is invest in yourself, whether it be investing in your business, going to seminars, doing these kinds of things. And more importantly than that is investing in real estate. I mean, we have a pretty unique opportunity to see what's out there. And had I invested back in '98 when I first got in the business and bought and hold back then, it would have been a lot easier now. And so that same thing applies today. I mean, it doesn't matter where we are in the market. Buying and holding is always I should say always. If you can buy and hold and keep it during the downturn, it's always a good thing to do. So passive income for me would have been the very first thing I told myself, along with, again, just investing in yourselves. I went through Brian Buffini, I went through Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, went through a year of Mike Ferry coaching. Didn't fit my style. Mike Ferry is very structured, and I'm not. And it's, again, just finding your place in the market, finding your sphere, finding what you're good at. And again, I just wrote down a few things as far as books. Read. I think it was Earl Nightingale, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's one of those the sayings that is, study an hour a day in your field, and you'll be at the top of your field within 2 years, or something to that effect. And forgive me for the quote being wrong, but ultimately find the books that are relating to you. And I wrote down a couple, which is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I mean, I listen to what some of these panelists are saying, and they're right out of the textbooks. I mean, they're easy reads, they're fast reads. Just take these for what they're worth. I mean, they're cheap, or just nowadays even, you hear, go online, go to YouTube. Everything's free. MikeFerry.com has everything he has out there is free, and he jokes about that because he says, everything I have is free because no one's going to use it. And he laughs, and it's so true. We can all say great things, and you guys can all nod your heads and go, oh man, that's a good idea, I want to do that. And 5% of you maybe will. So the biggest thing for me is just invest in yourselves, learn, continue to learn, and implement. It's great to learn, but then again, you got to implement what you do learn.
Cool. All right, guys. So go ahead.
Can I
Scott,
add
got
one
some
other
dad?
thing?
Yeah.
So I've become to the point where I bleed blue. So I forgot about how I was an independent, early on until Alex mentioned that. But in my career, my first 20 years, I was independent. My dad's company, originally E.J. Campbell and Company, then became Campbell Realtors. And we converted to Coldwell Banker after my dad had retired, and I became broker of record and could, realistically make those decisions. And I can just tell you that being branded with Coldwell Banker compared to being an independent is like night and day. It's like swimming downstream when you're in that listing presentation. I can tell you, I've been there both places, and I will never forget these words from the first seller who told me why he listed with me when we became part of Coldwell Banker. He said, "List with the Coldwell Banker guy." That's what my nephew told me. Okay, I got called to a listing presentation on a referral. In our neighborhood, in our market area, there's a company called Star Real Estate, and I apologize to any Star Real Estate people who might hear this story later. through you guys. And then there was Tarbell also at the time. And then I got a call. Well, there was 3 of us that got a listing presentation. The star real estate guy had been taking care of the woman's house who passed away for about 10 years, filling up the tires of the car that was in the driveway when they got low, picking up the newspapers, all this stuff, 10 years. I'd never been in the neighborhood, no joke. Okay, I did my listing presentation. The trustee called his nephew in another state, started going through who the agents were that he interviewed, and he said, well, the first guy was from Coldwell Banker. He stopped him right there, just list with the Coldwell Banker guy. I double-ended it.
Cool. Okay, guys, thank you. I do have to say, in the interest of time, these guys will all. Chris, did you want to add anything at all? Are you sure?
I'm all good.
Okay.
Thank
Chris
you for
Hansen,
coming.
everybody. Chris Hansen, thank you. So in the interest of time, these guys will all be at the cocktail party after this. So if you want to grab one of them and talk to them, are you all going to be there and available? Okay, guys, so in the interest of time, we need to move along. Thank you, $1 Million panel. We really appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. God. Okay, last speaker of the day, and he said it's going to be really short, but it's going to be awesome. Thank you, guys. Last guest of the day, Mr. Peter Parnig from Ninja Sales. Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you ever so much for staying till 4:30. I appreciate that. End of the day, you're sitting. Let's do a 1-minute stand-up. Let's just stand up. We'll get it over with. We could do the famous Tony Horton stretch. You know what that one is. Everybody reach up, but then you'll untuck your shirt, except for the guys from HMA. All the way, touch the ceiling. Yeah, now turn to the left without moving your feet. Stretch, ready? Now all the way to the right. Yeah, that's a little better, isn't it? All right. So you can sit down or you can stay standing. It's fine with me. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of ninja selling.
As soon as he's done.
Raise your hand if you've been to Ninja. And now raise your hand if you've never heard of ninja selling at all. Awesome. Perfect. So let's get going. Welcome. This is an introduction to an introduction. Tomorrow morning from 10:30 to 12:30, I'm going to give you a 2-hour piece of what ninja selling is. But I'm going to give you about 24 minutes right now. So it's 22. We'll be done at 4:46. 14 minutes early. Awesome. All right. So thank you for your commitment. One of the things we've discovered, and I don't know if you know these numbers, there are about 1,100,000 realtors in NAR. There are another 900,000 licensees in the United States, and about 250,000 people actually make a living at this. The average number of transactions I'm going to show you in a minute are about 6 transactions per year nationwide. And so one of the things that we have focused on at Ninja is people who are committed to being in the business. Part-time is wonderful, but that's not our target. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you. My story quickly. I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, grew up there. My dad had a real estate company. I was supposed to be a doctor. I'm a heart-lung pump operator, and went and I've done a couple of 100 open heart surgeries, but didn't like it. Didn't want to spend my life in a hospital because I'm too ADD, and couldn't imagine that. So my true love is music, and I decided not to be a doc, and my dad had this little real estate company, and I got my license in 1978. Raise your hand if you've been in the business more than 30 years. More than 30. Yeah, how about more than 35? All right, let me ask it differently. Has anybody had a real estate license since prior to 1978? I want to find the oldest guy in the room. Yeah, there's one in the back. 2, congratulations, we're amongst the old people. It's awesome. I'm a 78 model. Now raise your hand if you've been in the business less than 5 years. Perfect, that's awesome. So that means everybody else in between. So anyway, so I got my license when I was 25. I sold 59 houses my first year. It was easier then because we had assumable mortgages. Wasn't that lovely? And it was great. But I was kind of angry for my first 5 years, and on my 30th birthday, I decided to move to LA and try and get famous in the music business. I had hair. And so I moved to LA. I still have a couple of songs on YouTube. You can look up Stone Fury. They're sort of loud and noisy. We were produced by the guy who produced Led Zeppelin. And I thought I was going to retire on that, but we only sold 70,000 records, which is a zero short of fame. And so I ran out of money, and I took a job managing an office in La Cañada, Flint Ridge, called McGregor Realty. And we grew that office to about 60 agents, and then my dad called with his 18-agent office in Albuquerque and said, come home or I'm going to close the company. So I went back to Albuquerque in '87, took that 18-agent company, grew it to about 90 agents. I was a Christie's sort of boutique high-end company. And then I saw the writing on the wall, and I believed that franchising was really the key to a long-term success. So my number one competitor and I, also an independent, we merged and joined Coldwell Banker at the same time. And so in 1998, we formed Coldwell Banker Legacy. And during that period, I got my CCIM, my CRS, my CRB, and SOB. Are there any sons of brokers in here? Any daughters of brokers? Yeah, I'm second generation. And we grew that company by acquiring our two biggest competitors then, which were Prudential and Better Homes and Gardens. We were on the cover of Realtor magazine in 2002 as the fastest growing company in the United States and got to 700 agents in Albuquerque. We were the number 4 Coldwell Banker franchise in the system in the early 2000s. And we've been the number 1 real estate company in New Mexico since 1998. I too bleed blue. And in 2014, in 2010, Larry Kendall, who created the Ninja system, showed up at an event like this and did a presentation like I'm going to do tomorrow. And it changed our lives. We had been looking for a productivity system probably for the entire existence, for almost 18 years. And much like what we experience today, fabulous information, a tidbit here, a piece there. We go to Fast Start. We got our preview certification. We did this, but we never had a full system to wrap our arms around. And that was Ninja selling. So let me give you a quick history of Ninja so you'll understand what this is. Budge Husky, prior CEO, he said, Peter, this is great, but I just don't like the name. And Ninja sounds so ninja. And I said, well, let me tell you where it comes from. So Larry Kendall, who wrote Ninja Selling and wrote the book I'm going to show you in just a second, founded the group in Fort Collins, Colorado, which is where I live. 2 years ago, I sold my interest in Coldwell Banker Legacy and moved to Fort Collins to become a Ninja instructor after spending 5 or 6 years deeply involved in our company in it. And he founded this company 40 years ago, 1976. We just had our 40th anniversary. And he founded it on the Ninja system. And what's interesting about this company is 185 agents in a relatively small marketplace. Fort Collins has 147,000 people. The whole marketplace we work in is less than 400,000 or about 420,000 people. But we read an article about a year and a half ago in the New York Times about all the big name trainers, all of whom have been named today and all of whom are wonderful. But what they noticed in the article is that not one of them had sold a house in the last 20 years. And what happens as you become a trainer is you start to lose touch with the reality of what it feels like to be on the ground. No discrimination against them, just an interesting piece. Here's the truth about the group. It's Colorado's most productive real estate company. You can see the numbers at the bottom. The group's ranking in Colorado is number 1. The group's ranking in the United States, it's the second most productive real estate company in the country in transactions per agent with 185 agents. It's not a 9-person boutique. And last year, we averaged 28 transactions per agent across 185 agents. And it's all founded on the Ninja system. So the cool thing is, this is our proof of concept, and it's also our laboratory. Nothing that we do at Ninja is anything that we haven't tried, doesn't work, and we have the results to prove it. So the way this all started is this guy, Jimmy Dunlap, who's now dying from a degenerative disease, was an original agent at the group. And he would come in the morning, bring in a listing, work for about an hour and a half, disappear, and he's a professional bike rider. He's ridden with Lance Armstrong. He was a coach for the U.S. Postal Service team. And then 2 days later, he'd come in with another listing. And then he'd disappear, and 2 days later, he'd work for 2 or 3 hours and come in with a purchase agreement. And he was like this stealth realtor, very different from most realtors the way they worked. And he was low drama, never hair on fire, high productivity per hour. And finally, I guess a staff person one day said, he's like a ninja. And that's where it came from. And what it really means is the style of doing business, which is high productivity per hour, completely authentic, no drama, no hair on fire, but most importantly, instead of living to work, he believed that the goal is to work to live. Real estate, I believe, is one of the very last careers in the world where you can literally print money. You can give yourself a $100,000 raise this year. Imagine if we were talking to the United States Nursing Association, and I said, who'd like a $100,000 raise? They would look at me as if I had a snake growing out of my forehead going, yeah, fine, but if I get a 3% COLA raise, wouldn't that be amazing? So we have to remember this industry is really remarkable in that we do have the opportunity, if we know how, to change our outcome. And so Ninja is just a style of doing business. So my question starts always with, how did we all get into real estate in the first place? How many of you walked up to your mother when you were 12 years old and said, Mom, I can't decide. Should I be a doctor, a lawyer, or a realtor? Almost everybody in here probably got to some place like San Diego or Carlsbad or wherever you are. And what do you do when you can't get a real job? You go into real estate, right? That's what I did. I went to college in Middlebury, Vermont, and I have an incredibly employable degree in Spanish. Hola. You know, I could either be a realtor or an ambassador, and I was like, I think I'll try real estate. And so we get into real estate, and I don't know about you, but in New Mexico and Colorado, and my son just got his real estate license, and he lives in Carlsbad, in Oceanside. What did we learn in real estate school? Did you learn any kind of sales skills? Did you learn any kind of specific technical skills? Did you learn anything about the business? Did you learn any systems for success? So what happens is, and this is nationwide, we have an industry of what we call on-accident realtors. You get your license, and they say, here's the gun, don't hurt anybody. And some of us make the decision to go to a training company like Coldwell Banker, and yet, because I've been through the whole Coldwell Banker piece, it still never gives a full package system about how to do everything from start to finish. What that creates is a business full of realtors that are what I call subject to the porpoise effect. And the porpoise effect sounds something like this. Oh my gosh, I have nothing in escrow. It's Monday morning, I've got to do something. I'm broke, I'm functionally unemployed. All right, I'm going to get more floor shifts. I'll hold an open house. God forbid, I'm going to call it for sale by owner, and you go, me, 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 me. And all of a sudden, you get something under contract, and you go, whew, I'm going to be okay. And then what happens? It closes, and you go, oh my gosh, I'm back again. And me, 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 and you do this porpoise effect, what I call a cortisol-laden career, that is feast or famine, halfway between complete elation and complete terror. Raise your hand if you've ever had that, or if you all have if you have a closing every week, no matter what, just don't raise your hand. But all of us have experienced the porpoise effect. Well, the Ninja system is simply designed to take you from an on-accident realtor to an on-purpose realtor. And as I hear every panel here, the ideas were fantastic. I loved being here today. But now what we have to do is put them into an implementable, followable, teachable package. So here's what we know. In an up market like we have right now, on-accident realtors can succeed. But I'm going to show you a graph tomorrow about what happens in California and all over the country. Will there be another relaxation of the market? Yes, we know that to be true. It's a guarantee. So we see Ninja selling as two things. As an inoculation for the future, but as a way to take advantage of this amazing boom market we're having right now. So here's what we know. An on-purpose realtor has to follow a system. But let me ask you the million-dollar question. In order to follow a system, what has to happen? You got to have a system, right? So we call it the Ninja selling system. And there are 4 critical components to any system. The first is you have to be able to hand it to someone. So when you come to an installation, and we call it an installation, not a training, for reasons I will describe tomorrow, you get a full system, soup to nuts, everything from listing process, a buyer process, all the pre-listing questions I think that guy's a ninja. He said it. Who was this guy over here? I forgot his name. Brett? Craig. Brad, Craig, Peter, John, Iceberg, Goldberg. We'll hand you this, including a complete pre-listing interview. The second, it has to give predictable results, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Third, it has to work regardless of personality. Here's what we know. Half of the United States, half of the world population are introverts at some level. And one of the things that we've noticed is that many power trainers teach to a power personality. And I listened today, and some of these guys are amazing. And we all know that person who walks into a party at Christmas or the holidays, and he walks in and goes, "Hey, I'm Peter. How you doing, man? It's great to meet you. I don't have a stranger in my life. And, by the way, if you're thinking of buying or selling, I'm your guy. Oh, hi, I'm Peter." And they can work the room. And they just are able to do that. I can't do that. It creeps me out, personally, to try it. We call those people freaks of nature. And I admire them deeply, but it's not a teachable skill. So what we finally did at Ninja is we scrubbed out all what we call personality-specific trainings so that a shy person, a quiet person, an analytical person can do it just as well. Because what I know is if you ask an introvert to act like an extrovert, what will happen? It won't. So that means for many of the trainings we've been to, half of the population is disenfranchised. And then finally, it has to work regardless of the market you're in. Whether you're in Temecula, whether you're in Oceanside, whether you're in New Mexico, whether you're in up market or a down market. So in order for it to work, it has to be user-friendly. And I'm going to show you, I've been to almost every trainer that's been mentioned today, but it has to be user-friendly for you and for the customers. I went to one of the trainers that we talked about today, and this stuff works that he taught, but I couldn't do it. And we were supposed to get a list from the title company. We were supposed to get our desk at 9 o'clock. We were supposed to put our headset on for an hour of power. Remember an hour of power? And then I was supposed to dial up and down the street going, "Hi, this is Peter from Coldwell Banker. When are you planning on moving?" as my opening question. Well, I'd just rather put a fork in my eye than ask a stranger that. And I was like, that's creepy. And I couldn't do it. And it may work, but it was not user-friendly, certainly for me, and it certainly was not user-friendly for the customer. So the goal of Ninja Selling is pretty simple, to increase your income per hour so you can have a life. I respect anybody who wants to work 24/7, 365, but for me, the optimal life is to take this amazing business, learn how to get its highest return on time, and then do the things I love with the money you can make from this business. So that's why we do this. So our goal is pretty simple, is to increase your gross commission income by at least 20% above the market. Most realtors I talk to, I ask, how's your year? And they go, it's fantastic. My internal dialogue says, well, the market's fantastic. You're just riding the wave of the market. And when the market slows down, if I ask them, how's your year? They'll go, well, it could be better. And I go, all most of us do is we just mimic the market cycles. But what if we could say, if the market's down 10%, you're up 10%? So we track ninjas around the country. Back in the Depression, and by the way, when they call it the Great Recession, for realtors and builders, it was a depression. New Mexico got creamed as bad as California, Las Vegas, Detroit, and Florida. They just didn't talk about us. And so when we did this, we tracked the market in 2012. It was down 3.6%. Our ninjas were up almost 36%. So they were up almost 40% above the market. We rechecked this 2 years ago. Market was up, coming up nicely, 11%. Ninjas were up 38%, so they're up about 27% above the market. I just worked with a company, a Coldwell Banker company in Detroit. Check these numbers out. Coldwell Banker Rear Manual, they did their installation a year ago. Their ninjas were up 20%. Their non-ninjas in the company were down 5% in a market that's only up 5%. So our statement is this stuff works because it's followable. So the question's then in, how do you increase your income per hour? There are 5 ways. And I'm going to show them to you. But I got this note about 3 weeks ago. I did an installation for a company independent company in San Francisco, which is they're a tough crowd. And he said, this is from Paragon. He said, Peter, I wanted to take a moment and thank you. Before the Ninja training class in February, I literally had 1 sale to my name for $444,000. I took the class, applied what I learned. It worked. I mean, it really worked. By the end of April, I closed $3,480,000 in transactions. Thank you for teaching such an amazing program. And we received that. So the 5 patterns. Number 1, you can increase your average price or fee. Awesome. Number 2, we absolutely believe in being a strong listing broker. Many people already said it. It works where you're not. Number 3, it's great if you can get a volume account or an investor, but guess what? They come and go. Here's where we hit pay dirt. We're going to show you, we've talked so much today about lead generation, but we're going to show you a much simpler way to have a steady flow of buyers and sellers coming towards you rather than you chasing them. As a matter of fact, we don't one time use the word prospecting because that's chasing, and we're going to talk about attracting. And the way we're going to do that is focus on the vital few. How many of you have heard of the 80-20 rule? 20% of the people do 80% of the business, 80% of the world's wealth is controlled by 20% of the world's people. It turns out that this principle was discovered in 1876 by a guy named Vilfredo Pareto. And what he noticed that this is a world phenomena. 80% of the world's food is grown on 20% of the world's land. In Fort Collins, 80% of the beer is drunk by 20% of the people. So what I'd like to do is give you a 45-second video. If you've already seen this, don't blow it for your friends. That is really the metaphor of what we're going to work on at Ninja. So with the lights on, pay attention here. You ready?
Awareness test.
Volume.
How many passes does the team in white make?
Go!
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Go!
It's easy to miss something you're not looking for. What this video is for us is the metaphor of the incredible distractibility in the real estate business of looking for things to improve your business when in fact there are moonwalking bears right in front of you. The moonwalking bear is the metaphor for transactions that are right under your nose when you're out looking for the next coolest shiny object to create lead generation, when in fact there are transactions right there. This gentleman right at the end said it pretty importantly. He said, the advice that I would give myself is to have kept track of every single customer I ever dealt with forever, because those are the transactions that we've given up in exchange for worrying about whether I should become a Zexpert, whether I should take the position on Realtor.com, whether I should buy this zip code. HomeSnap, maybe that's going to be it. Maybe, maybe, maybe. So let's go through the mindset. We've got about 5 or 6 minutes real quickly. The 3 keys to Ninja are your mindset, your skill set, and your actions. Just for fun, if you had to tell me which of the 3 would probably override, which one would override the other 2 in this equation, what would you guess? Yeah, absolutely. So in our structure, at a 4-day installation, which is what they are, we spend a whole day on mindset. And we've heard so much great conversation today about mindset. I'm going to show you a little bit here. Then we spend a day on your actions, which will guarantee and show you how to create a steady flow of buyers and sellers to you so that you can control your income. And then we spend 2 days on listings and buyers. We have a 16-step seller process and a buyer step and a 10-step buyer process, which are fantastic. And we show you exactly how to use them. just by question, how many of you are having buyers that have to write 3 offers and lose at least 2 houses before they're willing to step up to the line and pay what it takes? Yeah, pretty much everybody has to do that. But our 10-step buyer process shortens that by specifically helping people understand that before you get in the car with them. Maria Vitale says it perfectly. We've really figured out the science behind all this. This person, I wished I'd written these names down, talk about his pre-listing conversation, asked about pre-qualifying questions. We're going to give you a 19-question pre-listing interview and show you the sequencing of the questions and how it gets you to exactly where he was talking about, so you don't have to invent your own wheel. So your mindset's pretty simple. We believe at any given moment, 2 minutes? Okay, wait a second. Yeah, no, I'm on it. I'm just checking. We're killing it here. At any given moment, we have the choice to respond to any set of circumstances as either a player or a victim. And that is within our capacity. We all know that person who is just on fire angry when she or he gets a parking ticket. And then we also know that person who gets a stage 4 diagnosis and is the most inspiring person in your life and holds you up, right? This picture, I think, says it all. In the 1991 Boston Marathon, they sent the people who were not physically capable off at midnight the night before. So this is the 20-mile mark. Tom Slocum, he went off at midnight. So these guys, this is the lead pack. They've been running for 1 hour and 45. They went off at 8, so this is about 9:45 in the morning. Tom Slocum has been running since midnight. Look at the smile on his face. Player or victim? Player. He made a decision. I don't have legs. I can't run like these guys, but check me out, my badass self. I am absolutely performing. His hands are bleeding, but look at that smile. That's a player. So our mindset is pretty simple. And let me ask you a question right before the end here. Is this glass half empty or half full? I'm going to say it. Yeah, I think it's both. Every pessimist I know says to me, Peter, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist, which makes the assumption that there is a reality. And I'm going to suggest that this glass is half full of water, it's half full of air. If I'm in Sedona or Santa Fe with a bunch of hippies, they're going to go, there is no glass here. It's just an illusion. And the molecules have colluded at this moment to, in fact, be this glass. The point is, it's a choice. And we say half empty is a scarcity mindset, and half full is an abundance mindset. And you have a choice every day to see it or not. I'm hearing amongst all agents in the United States this crazy scarcity mindset around listings. And all they talk about is, oh man, can't get any listings, can't get any listings. Well, guess what? What you focus on expands, and I'm going to share that with you tomorrow. I want to walk through this, but because I have just a second here. Any other musicians in the room? So if I take a guitar and I tune it perfectly to A440, and I take another guitar and I put it on this side of the stage, and I tune it to A440, and I pluck this string, what will happen to that guitar? It will feel the vibration. It will vibrate sympathetically. And this vibration will have been communicated through the infinite field of quantum intelligence, creating a response from the other person. Every one of us walks around transmitting a vibe and receiving a vibe. And so as we're talking about our energy and how we relate to the world, it is important that you talk about that, and I'm going to tell a little bit more about that tomorrow. So our 4 principles that I want to close with, and then tomorrow I'm going to share this with you. The first is to stop selling and create value. Everything I heard today was about creating value, and we're going to show you a whole day's worth of ways to do that. The second is to build a relationship business. What we believe, it's a lot easier to do business with people that know you, like you, and trust you, rather than always trying to find new people to deal with. And those represent the moonwalking bear, and the team in white says, wait a second, I got to go get new leads. And he said it perfectly. If I had just stayed in contact with everybody I'd ever sold a house to, he would have an infinite supply of business. Number 3, we're customer-centric, and we're going to do a really fun exercise around that tomorrow. It's a little bit different than what you expect. And then the final thing is we have to commit to personal mastery. So I'd like to close now. What I'd like to do is invite you. We're going to give a 2-hour piece that will really flesh out a lot of what we talked about today. This is the fast drive-by overview of Ninja. I'll go into depth with a lot of this stuff. Tomorrow you have things you can immediately take away and use in your business. I'd like to thank you for spending 25 minutes with me. And let's have a wonderful evening. Go have some liquor, and let's have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Peter Parnig, everybody, Ninja Sales. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you.